We're going to prepare the stage for our next power panel, ladies and gentlemen. Because when it comes to investments, you will all agree with me that the first thing we all think of is protecting oneself against possible risks. And therefore, the Indian insurance sector has been evolving significantly. And today we have a suite of products that we can choose from. But then walks in digitization. And that has, of course, propelled the industry to evolve even further, but has even made the sector more vulnerable to risks, to data theft, to identity theft, to other scams and frauds. From insurance companies to regulators to the government, everyone seems to be working tirelessly to ensure that the insurance sector is less prone to such risks. In our next panel, we will witness a discussion on what the regulators should do to reduce digital scams and frauds in the insurance sector. The panel constitutes of distinguished leaders of the industry. Please join me in welcoming them on stage. Ashish Mehrotra, CEO, Max Bupa Health Insurance. And Tapan Singhel, Managing Director and CEO, Bajaj Allianz General Insurance. And the discussion will be moderated by Sumit, Managing Director and CEO, Edelweiss Tokio Life. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we need to really put our hands together loudly so that they know it's their cue to join us on stage. Okay, there they are. Can we have a warm round of applause as we welcome our insurance power panel on stage? Gentlemen, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I was listening to Dr. Radhe speak from behind, and obviously that was a great session, and so this panel has a good follow-up act to try and provide to all of you. And with us today, we have two very eminent gentlemen in the insurance business who I'm sure will be able to talk a lot about the topic that we have. And the topic today is about digitization in the life in the insurance business and how it is impacting the business. Wherever I go these days in insurance forums and other places, I think digitization is the talk of the day. I guess it's no longer really about insurance, it's across industries. Retail, I think you're all seeing the impact. But area and others, whether it was automobiles and what Tesla is doing or supply chain, everywhere, I think we are seeing the impact of digitization. And I think insurance and fintech and some of these allied fields are what a lot of us are watching very closely to see how it goes from here. So today we have two gentlemen who really, to my mind, need no introduction on this stage. But on my right, we have Tapan Singhel, MD and CEO, Bajaj Allianz General Insurance. And to my left, we have Ashish Mehrotra, MD and CEO, Max Bupa Health Insurance. And hopefully between the three of us, we should be able to kind of throw a little bit of light on what's happening on digitization front in the life insurance side. So before we start, gentlemen, just initial thoughts from you. From your purchase, where do you see digitization in the industry and what impact do you think it's having on the industry? Tapan, why don't you start with you?
Thank you. Okay, to me, the word digitization and the pressure on digitization is something which is overhyped. Anything that is done, there has to be a solution to what you are trying to do, and the rest is a tool to find a solution. And the tool helps get you new solutions. I think that is where you may call it digitization or you may call it any tool. Now, if I look at the insurance industry, what is the biggest issue that the industry has as such? It's actually very funny. If you look at the general insurance industry, the combined ratio is about 117 to 120%, which means that for every 100 rupees the industry takes, the outgo is about 170 to 120%, which means the industry is really paying claims through the nose, yeah? But you ask anybody in the street, what do you feel about insurance industry? See, they're already laughing about it. Huh? It is so funny, yeah? The industry is dying paying claims, and the common man on the street feels that, no, these jokers don't pay claims, they only know how to collect money, yeah? Now, this is the problem statement. Now, how do you solve it, and why does this problem statement come? If I look at the insurance industry as a whole, fundamentally it is supposed to collect money from many and pay to a few who has an untoward incident for which they were covered by a contract. Fundamentally, that's what insurance is supposed to do. Which means the onus is on the industry that when somebody lodges a claim, they should scrutinize it well and not pay to any fraudster. No? Okay. So that is why the moment you lodge a claim, the insurance industry treats you as a fraudster till proven honest by the questioning mechanism. So industry is doing the job they're supposed to do. They're custodian of public money. They're taking care of the public money. Fair. Now, as a customer, you have paid the premium and you have been told that you are covered. You have a claim. You lodge a claim. And the guy starts asking you, "दो बजे रात को कहाँ चला रहे थे आप? किसके साथ थे? दारू पिए थे क्या?" Now, you're saying, "भैया, the car has been in an accident. Pay. Why the hell are you asking me these questions?" And this is precisely why, even when the industry is dying, paying claims, the customer feels they don't want to pay a claim. Problem statement is clear. How do you solve it? Because now you have mobile phones with camera, you have high network, no? Today obviously it's pretty bad in the country with all this telecom going down, but you have high speed of uploads happening. Why do you require physical presence of a surveyor? Why do you require days to collect information and data? Why can't you just get the customer to click pictures, upload, and transfer the money? Now that's what we did, no? So the problem statement has to be solved. And digitalization is a mechanism or a tool, one of the tools of solving the problem statement. Unfortunately, what happens is, and a lot of boardrooms and a lot of discussion like this, we talk of digitalization, put that fear that if you're not digital, something is really wrong with you, and you're going to die very, very soon. And I just want to carry this perspective. To me, digitalization is one of the mechanisms and the tools to solve real problems. And if you're doing that well, I think you're going in the right direction. And use it as a tool. That's my perspective.
Thank you, Tapan. An unusual one it is. Don't really hear so much candor right up front in a panel like this. All right, Ashish, coming to you. There's been a lot of talk, especially in the health insurance space, about how digitization is helping improve customer experience, just as Tapan was kind of talking about. From your perspective, what changes have you seen, and how do you think all of this is helping the consumer?
I think Tapan kind of put it very nicely on combined ratio or COR as we call it. But I think you need to break it a little more, which is the cost per se. But before trying to break that into more simpler pieces for granularity and for clearer understanding, the way we look at it, or the way I look at it, maybe a little bit being an outsider to the insurance business, and I've done, I think, a couple of sessions with Tapan sir, and I learned a lot from him in the digital journey which we're trying to get the regulator to adopt. I kind of break this entire customer journey into 5 parts. I look at it the way we attract, the way we connect with the customer, the way we attract the customer, the way we connect the customer, the way we engage with the customer, the way we fulfill, and the way we deepen the relationship. This is a combined cycle on any product, which on a financial services side, which customer, or broadly any product from a consumer experience. What has actually happened over the course of last 5 years with the advent of the mobile phones in India particularly, and the internet connection, whatever good or bad it may be, it is significantly leapfrogged us to a very different stage than the rest of the world. So we have an edge over the rest of the world, which is reflecting in most of the products category, whether you look at Amazon sales or some of the other stuff. It is genuinely moved much ahead than anybody else has imagined. And if you keep the customer, to Tapan's point, just customer in the very center of whatever you do, and you plot these 5 stages in the customer life cycle, you are solving the real problems. And we've seen that. With this, we're breaking now the insurance product into simple consumables, which is what we call as sachets. That's working wonders. We've used, especially on claim side, AI. AI is helping us to get to almost 99.6% accuracy on almost 40% of our claims, which is dramatically superior than what we would have done ourselves. This means we have 2% higher error rate versus what AI or the machine learning helping us to achieve. So at the end of it, in a very simplistically, the way the digitization has helped us to really transform is to simplify and solve the real customer issues, which will eventually bring efficiency in the insurance business, and the core should come down. Because both the cost of intermediation, the cost of fulfillment, we are, like in general insurance business, we are a high unit cost, correct? We process large number of transactions, whether onboarding, whether on claims, or whether any other services. We have large number of customer transactions. If we are able to use that to fulfill the customer needs, this means it brings the core efficiency and significantly improves the customer experience. So like that stuff I was speaking earlier on AI for claims, that cuts my claim process time from hour to almost 10 minutes. I don't need so much of stuff and information because I'm able to read that information right and approve it then and there, irrespective of the amount of the claim it is.
Thank you, Ashish. And I think that brings us to a very interesting question, and this I will pose to both of you. I think there's been a lot of talk about how digitization can actually help transfer power from distributor, because insurance has largely been a distribution-driven business over many, many years now. And transferring that power from distribution to customer is, I think, one of the things that a lot of people have spoken about. How do you see that playing out, A? And B, how do you see, therefore, digitization also helping distributors provide better service to customers? So Tapan, maybe you can go first and then Ashish.
Thank you. So let me again position a different question. So how many of you ever got up that today I'll buy an insurance? No, let's go for it. And you discuss with family कि आज तो insurance खरीद के रहेंगे. मतलब बहुत दिन रुक लिए. मतलब ना इतना insurance product आ गया. Ashish has taken out one new, amazing product on health. हम लोग miss कर रहे हैं. Everybody has a health product and we don't have one, and we should buy it today. No. How many of you ever did that? Did you seriously do it? You're one in the world. Coronavirus, out of fear, yeah? Out of fear, right? But, okay, coronavirus is a separate subject, meet me separately, don't fear so much. But buy health product, definitely, that is the reason, not with the fear, but it's good for dignity. The point is, nobody in the world gets up to buy insurance. First point. The second point is, insurance is an amazing product. Honestly, for the cost and the kind of security it provides is unbelievable. Like a simple health insurance would cost less than a dinner. And Ashish, you pay me, I'm doing marketing for you, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it'll cost less than a dinner. But do you realize, even if nothing goes wrong and you get old, and one day when you are getting admitted, and for the kids you have worked so hard, and they have grown up, if you don't believe me, see it in the hospitals, people will be hesitating to pay your bill. No? Your dignity gets compromised if you don't have a good health cover. Your lifespan gets decreased if you don't have a good health cover. And what does it cost for the entire year? Less than a dinner. It's an amazing product. The issue is insurance is sold on conversations. And that is why across the world, distribution is critical for insurance. Conversations have to happen. The percentage of online sale in India is just about 3% of the entire business. No? And all companies are doing a great job in terms of online, the way they're positioning themselves, the way they're positioning the product. Now the next point which you said is more relevant. The ease of sale has to be at hyper speed. What you are selling, the communication, the awareness to customer as to what he or she is buying should be very, very clear. And the person selling, the agent, should not be mis-selling. He or she should have the right tools at their tip to show to the customer. I think if you put it in this perspective, then is the right answer. If you believe that distribution will over the next 5 years and people are going to buy online, it doesn't happen simply because nobody gets up to buy insurance. The day somebody gets up, move to online very, very fast, seriously. That's why I ask the question every time. And when he raised his hand, I got very worried. Am I missing something? Then coronavirus, I realized. I said, okay, it's fine. Still is going on. That is my answer to your question.
Can I add to it? So from the banking world, you say credit is bought, insurance is sold. It's exactly. Clearly that simple it is. But clearly, unless the company enables and creates a platform which simplifies both in terms of contract and in using the current digital tools, whether an AI on something, to ensure the right advice is given to the right customer. I think that's where it is. It just boils down to a right advice on the right product. And more so, transparency in capturing the disclosure rates on the application form, because that's the only piece which can lead to a unhappy customer and an event. Because today for an insurance company, like we were talking, whether it's looking in general insurance or in life, it's far more easier for you to identify the fraud incidences and so on and so forth. Hence, it's important that the very first engagement, the very first conversation is of quality, where customer has immense trust in you, and that trust get transferred to the company, and then company is able to fulfill what customer needs seamlessly.
Okay. So let me add my 2 bits.
I was thinking, how long are you resisting all this? Yeah? You had to come into the game.
I have to make some contribution, right? I can't just keep asking questions. So, from a life insurance perspective, where products are reasonably complex, multiple varieties of products, consumer knowledge is still of a significantly lower order, despite the fact that over the last 7, 8 years, thanks to internet and all, consumer knowledge has gone up, but it's still restricted. I do believe that digitization can help a lot in helping the quality of the conversation between the distributor and the customer. That is where I think digitization will truly make an impact.
Exactly. I think that is what is
Can I help understand the needs of the customer better? Can I use digitization to try and find an answer and give him the best kind of solution that serves him and that will keep him happy for a very long time? Is where I think digitization will truly make a difference. And that is where I think a lot of focus has to go. I think a lot of this, exactly as you pointed out so bluntly, Tapan, a lot of this whole thing about power in the hands of the consumer and the intermediary getting disintermediated, as long as, exactly as you said, as long as insurance is not a bought product but a sold product, I don't think that reality is going to change anytime quick. And now, that's not just India. We see it across the world. Anywhere in the world, I don't think even in the more advanced countries, everybody talks about, for example, Ping An in China. But Ping An has done what? Ping An has used digitization to help empower the distributor. And that is the difference that they've created. And I think that is where I think the true power of digitization and helping distributors know customers better, service them better, and therefore build long-lasting careers for themselves in the business is what is going to make a big difference in our business. Okay, now that my 2 bits is done. So let's also talk about India is still a 3 to 4% insurance penetration country. We are still, by comparative standards of, let's say, China or others, still pretty low. How do you think, Ashish, that insurance can play a role, digitization can play a role in increasing the penetration? What do you think are some of the things that can be done there?
I think 2 or 3 things. One, just the dissemination of information has become far more accessible. And that creates the empowerment in the hand of the end consumer and the intermediaries, which is on phone, on tablets, on your laptops or computer, whatever you're using. I think that's the one big piece. The second, it is essentially helping the proper insurance company to understand the needs. And I think we are now seeing with toffee insurance and with the small ticket size, bite size insurance, while the insurance will predominantly remain an advisory product, the products are then broken to the micro needs of the customers. And I think that will help leapfrog the penetration and adoption of the insurance. And we are seeing this when we work with some of the fintech companies or the loans companies and the banks. You are able to create smaller, simpler product, which help customers to experience insurance. And then we are seeing that they come back to us asking, because they see the value on the product. Like we do a bunch of product with the bank, which is linked to the account opening. Now, those are very simple 1,000 rupee product. Or when you do a product like for viruses and stuff like that, we spoke about it, for all communicable diseases and stuff like, those are simple 50, 100 rupee product, only meant for a certain event. What we are seeing, the people who buy those products, 20 to 30% of them are coming back to the insurance company to buy a full-fledged cover. And that's ensuring that customer understands, sees the value on the insurance, and then adoption rate will go up dramatically. I think those are the 2 big pieces. And we have to leverage it, correct? We have 560 million mobile phones. 40% of them are smartphones. So there is a lot which can be done to leverage and to disseminate this information and to ensure the customer sees the value. And the government is doing a lot, I think helping us, and that's really helping in the health insurance side. We are seeing a massive growth. Our combined growth rate on the health is about over 15% on a YTD basis if you look at it. I think that's really speaking volumes of the way we are seeing the adoption. And the adoption is coming much higher in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. It's no longer an urban need. It's now becoming the need coming from the smaller towns where people want to have that covered because they realize India has a unique problem, especially to do with health. The health inflation is about 10 to 12%. So this means the annual cost of health goes up by that value every year. And second, unfortunately or fortunately, we have the highest out-of-pocket expenses, which is not getting covered today under the conventional indemnity product on the health side, which is at 60%. And if you don't compare to advanced world, but if you compare to the BRIC nation, South Africa is at 16, 18%. There's nobody at 60%. So I think that is dramatically high. The third piece, which is really, I think, creating awareness even in the younger ones, the young millennial wanting to buy the product, is that we are catching the lifestyle-related diseases significantly ahead of than the rest of the world. One out of 5% has it. And second, we catch them about 10 years before those diseases, advent of those diseases are getting discovered in rest of the world. So rest of the world average is 50. Our average is in early 40s or late 30s. I mean, that's a little bit scary, but I think that's will drive, all of those are driving the massive need towards the insurance.
I just want to challenge your data on 3 to 4%. Yeah. So I tell you, why you're right, and I feel that that's not the way to look at it. The data is seen as percentage to GDP, premium. But let's look at the penetration, actual penetration, number of lives. Just one Ayushman Bharat, 40 crore population covered. No? Now, even if you take India at 130, so it's not, how can it be 3 to 4%? No? If you look at crop insurance, it is covering all lonely farmers. How do you say it's 2 to 3%? The penetration of insurance in India has moved up significantly. I think the way you look at it is number of lives covered will actually give a different perspective altogether. If you look at that, the PA policy, the Prime Minister Suraksha, which was that 12 rupees policy.
Pradhan Mantri Suraksha, PMSY.
PMSY. 12 rupee product is because of digitalization. The point you said, Ashish, because of digitalization, I think today the amount of coverages happening is phenomenal. I think the problem is since we look at the ratio to GDP, and both are moving targets, and the way premium has fallen, like in a free pricing environment of general insurance, 2007 we had free pricing, prices tumbled down to 95%, 70%. Now, with those tumbling down happening and GDP moving up, the movement is not happening, but I don't think that's the right parameter. We should change the parameter to carry it.
Let me come in his defense, especially in my data. Poor fellow, I have to
the butter in the sandwich.
But, I think, Tarun, we also need to try and break it. If you look at it, the overall penetration on health, I'm just breaking it to my category and saying health, maybe it's 30 to 40% of the population. But if you look at it, what is the private medical insurance penetration? That's still in 3 to 4%. That is still 3 to 4%.
So the issue, what has to happen is, and then we'll finish this topic. You have to give him his chance. So we can't hijack him.
No, you guys
see, what actually happens is, let me say, and I've said this many times, just this one Ayushman Bharat will increase life expectancy of Indians by at least 5 to 7 years. Why is it so? The moment this was announced, you heard the announcement of Apollo. They said we'll open 300 hospitals. See, 5 lakh sum insured is not a joke in a village. Till yesterday, you didn't have any private health facilities simply because who would pay? Today, when you have 5 lakh sum insured, people are opening hospitals now. When they open a hospital, the ecosystem is getting done. And that is why it's going to lead to a big boost of other insurance also coming through, Ashish. That's the point which I'm trying to say. And that's why your industry is growing at a double-digit healthy growth, consistently over time. The ecosystem is getting built. The penetration is getting moved up. But by using this statement, I think at times we negate all the hard work done in terms of the way things have moved up.
We underplay the work that we
Exactly, that's it.
I agree with you. And actually, I think one of the interesting things, and not many people know about this, is just as you mentioned, Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Yojana. Even if you look at the life insurance side and the Pradhan Mantri Jan Jeevan Bima Yojana, the PMJJBY, it actually ended up covering close to about 30 crore people.
Exactly.
At 350 rupees, a very simple process, SMS based, just a yes, no. At times like these, I believe that if you make the right effort, maybe insurance can also become a bought product.
Yeah, it's getting there. I think one of my latest projects I'm working on is exactly this. How do you convert the push to pull?
Yeah, absolutely.
No? I think that is what I'm using the term also. Because I believe that the product is so amazing, no? There's no reason why it should not be a pull product, no?
Absolutely. And you know, while there's been a lot of talk about claims, losses on PMJJBY, I also know of a lot of insurers who were a little bit selective in underwriting and who have actually done reasonably well even on the claim side. So it's not as if you can't do that business without making any money. I think it is possible to create awareness. It is possible for people to buy and still have a good experience overall for the consumer as well as for the insurer. So I think that's a big thing. And staying on, since you raised the topic of Pradhan Mantri Yojnas, what do you think from a regulatory perspective can be done more to kind of enable all of this?
Okay, one good thing has been Ashish and me both have been a lot of regulatory, committees in England. We have sandbox now, which has come through, and I would say early success in terms of opening up, but not up to the level that it should. But I think regulators have to be cautious. To be fair to them, maybe the stepwise process they're going to. But if I look in a world, where and see how the consumer behavior is transforming and how we are working. Now, most of us sitting here, even people like us who were in an era in which fixed phones came after 7 years after application, to an era where everybody has 2 to 3 mobiles. If I look at the transformation happening for us, instant gratification is becoming a norm. You want something, you just Google search, buy. Yeah? If something goes wrong, you want to immediately solve it, have a complaint, call center, put your email, whatever it is. But it has to be instant. Now, if the entire process of selling insurance, servicing customers is not moving towards instant gratification for customers, then we have a disconnect again. That has been a problem of the insurance industry for so many centuries. There's always a disconnect of where the customer is and where we are. Now, this is where I feel the regulators have to understand this. The space at which the transformation has to happen has to be at a hyper speed. The days are gone when one idea lasted for 10 years. It may not last for the next 2 to 3 months. I think if I file a product and it will take me 7, 8 months to get an answer, it's too late. How do you serve it?
Absolutely.
So they're doing substantial. In fact, the sandbox for IITA was ahead of even RBI also. So from that perspective, I would say full marks to them. Speed perspective, I feel can be done at a much faster speed than what it is being done.
Ashish, since you have also been a part of the sandbox process, any thoughts on the sandbox process from your side?
I think that's a brilliant way to help create innovation in a regulated industry. It has to be done in a little bit controlled because end of the day, the regulator needs to ensure that the policyholders' interest is getting protected. But some of the stuff which got approved on the regulatory sandbox among 76 odd ideas, that each one of them are brilliant ideas put in by many companies. And I'm sure if all of us, go about doing it with earnest attempt, this will dramatically change the landscape over the course of next 12 months or so. Yeah. I think that's where it is 6 months for us to do the product, go back to the regulator, and then formally come back with the new products in the marketplace. So 12 to 18 months is what it should take for you to see some massively different innovative products in the marketplace.
Okay. So let me come to something which is maybe a little bit more controversial. Every time the word digitization happens, and in today's age of big data, data access and all of that, I think a necessary evil that comes alongside today is the whole issue of data protection, consumer protection. How do you ensure customers are not defrauded in the digital process and all? How do you see that, and where do you see things going? There's been a lot of work on GDPR, for example, and the government is working on a similar standard here. What do you think is required further from a regulatory standpoint to kind of protect consumers in some of this?
Yeah, I think if I look at the general industry, we don't even have a KYC requirement.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So forget about data protection. Here we don't have access to data as it is. So I think we still have to move to the level. If I remember right, in the financial world in India, we are the only one where we don't require KYC. Yeah? everybody else would be requiring KYC. But having said that, let's look at data protection. Most of us who have any kind of payment app, do we know that all our messages can be read by, we have already given access, no? If you have the location app running and give your phone to anybody who can look at it, they'll tell you exactly, even 6 years back, at what time, where were you? I think our data as it is already available to everybody. We're talking of data protection, and our privacy has already been auctioned 100 times over, even what we do not even are aware about, where it is and how it is. The issue is, first and foremost, we should recheck about the data protection norms all across. As citizen, do I want it? Am I forced to allow and say yes? If I don't say yes, I don't get access to payment mechanism of an application which is there. No, I think there are bigger issues in this data protection stuff which is there. First and foremost, I feel right now our data is already compromised, and we're not even aware about it. They have to be corrected to begin with. The second point is data with consent. Let's say as a customer, if I give data to an insurer to underwrite and give me a better pricing, and I give consent for it, it's fair. Absolutely. I'm getting something for which I've given consent, and I'm ready to do that, which is a perfectly fair issue. But there's an insurer, I should not be misusing data for other purpose than the one in which the consent has been given. And if I have a claim settlement, I have to give data for claim settlement to happen, which is again by consent for a purpose. The misuse of the consented data should not be there other than the purpose which has been given. It's an ethical thing. There's nothing which I think we should know, though we talk of all this data privacy and all the norm coming through. I think it's just pure ethics. Ethics of a simple relationship. Let's say if we are friends, if I tell you something, now you go and tell it to everybody else, it's a breach of ethics. Like, it doesn't matter if it's distillation or it is normal conversation. Ethics is ethics. To me, data protection is more of ethics than anything else. And I believe those ethics should apply to digital world and as we progress further on it. But I also have earnest request that for the GI industry, we should have KYC norms. Completely. Which is there. Otherwise, what are we talking about?
Good. Let me ask the last one of the afternoon to you, Ashish. And I know that you're a big fan of fintech. You follow that very closely. And I think over the last 5 years or so, we've seen a very distinct and different ecosystem emerging. I think the payment services, the way UPI and some remarkable work that has happened around UPI, the emergence of the fintech platforms, the lending platforms, advisory platforms on the investment side, and so on and so forth. How do you see insurers moving ahead in that direction? And how does that entire ecosystem, you think, help all of this come true over the next few years?
I think to the point which I was saying earlier, as you start understanding customer, and Tapan started the entire conversation, today's session, is about understanding customer needs. And you start breaking into saying, how do I solve those problems? I think that's where the big part of the InsurTech comes into play. And the InsurTech is all about creating the entire ecosystem. It's not only about creating products. It's also about creating the full ecosystem for customer, from our perspective, to live a healthy and a successful life or a happier life. And I think that's where the big place is coming to. We spoke about breaking the complex product into simpler need-based product. We spoke about it, a 50 or 100 rupee product on some of the platform which you can go and buy just for, in case you have any of the simpler diseases, waterborne diseases, airborne diseases, like coronavirus comes in here, topical of interest. These are simpler product, can be bought on an indemnity platform, very simplified, sold for a specific purpose. And I think that's going to that's making a big change. Then you start looking at it from the insurance side. Why do I need to have, with the change in the behavior of the young millennials in this country, with the Uberization of what has happened and happening around all of us, do I really need the product for 365 days, or I need the product only for the day that I'm going to be taking my car out? In the city, it's now impossible to take a car out. It's better to have an Uber. Then maybe I should have a car insurance which only works on Sundays there. And I think some of that, you will start seeing a lot of that coming into play in the years to come, because I think that will really help drive. The second, in all this space, the ecosystem has to come into play. So let's take an example in case of health. I need to get my pharmacy. If I've gone and shown to the hospital, and then the insurance company going to pay the claim of that hospital. The medicine should get delivered. All of that, the entire ecosystem will eventually help towards solving the customer problem and help drive the penetration and the customer appreciation of the core product. Today, the issue on the insurance side is, while we have a very high claim paid ratios, the customers do not see the inherent value on what he's paying. I think over the years, the insurance product should become significantly cheaper as the efficiency with the digitization comes into play. And the second, the ecosystem will help drive the better benefits to the end consumer. And I think that, to my mind, will be the key epitome for the insurance industry to rise at 2 or 2.5 times of the GDP, of the current GDP growth rates. Yeah.
And one last one to you, Tapan, as well. With people like Facebook, Amazon, Google, Apple, all of these people, huge access to customers, data, and all of that. You see a threat to the insurance business from these players?
I've always said the more the merrier.
Yeah.
I think when you have such a low penetration as you define, no? Perspective, I think let them all come. See, at the end of the day, when you have competition and when you have good competition, then the value to the customer gets much better. I remember the time when ATM had come in, those early times. And before that, I had to go to get my salary in a bank, and if I knew the cashier, like I was the king. He'd give me a token, I had to wait and then come back later and get my money. And after ATM, nobody goes to the bank to get money. I think time changes. So competition is very good. If Facebook come, they'll take a segment of customers, they'll offer some services. Others will also derive some services. And if you look at it, when standard health companies came in, the health penetration went up, and the growth of health went up. When private companies came in, I think if you look at the entire ecosystem, transformation, customer service, it all went up. So let Facebook and Google come. It will be fun. I think that is what I would say.
On that topic of fun, I think we'll call an end to this session. Maybe we can take a couple of questions.
Yeah, it will be.
I'm happy to take questions. IRDA.
Why not hospitals? Because they are the culprits actually, not the insurance companies. Because they charge, for so many things which they are not supposed to charge, and we end up paying from our pockets instead of insurance company paying to them.
I think since in the spirit of candor, the insurance business is we operate in a highly regulated environment, and the end utilization of the product is in a completely unregulated environment. So, I mean, that's the challenge we all deal with. And that's also the reason of the high cost of the insurance product and so on and so forth. I think what's happening with Ayushman Bharat, and let's give it a massive credit, apart from, 40 crore people who got enrolled, is also, government in many forms and fashion over the last 2 to 3 years, whether to do with stent pricing, on generic drugs and all, is working towards systematically bringing a kind of a discipline and a kind of a standard. Unlike the rest of the world, India doesn't have. In the rest of the world, if I need to go and get my MRI done, first I need to go to my GP. GP will then recommend me to a specialist, and the specialist can also write an MRI. In place where we live in, if you think I have a neck problem, I'll first go and get my MRI done and get myself admitted. So I think that's the big change which is happening. And I think the pricing point of the services, especially to do with hospitalization, will also start seeing an improvement with some of the stuff being taken by the government. Yeah.
So one question to Ashish and Tapan both. Tapan, you mentioned the point that KYC is not required when we are taking a policy. But when you claim going in for cashless in health, you need an ID, you need an address proof. If you are claiming reimbursement, if your claim is above 1 lakh, you need ID proof, address proof, and photo. Why is this being put afterwards? Put it in front and then don't ask again. Every time you have to give a cancel check. Last time I had given a cancel check.
That is what we are asking. You are with us. So please write and talk about it.
I mean, you are the guys who are connected to the IRDA. I am not. I am just an advisor.
We have put it forward. And if you look at, to be fair to IRDA, the recent draft regulation is on KYC.
Yeah.
So it's coming there.
Yeah.
So the point is exactly this. See, if you do not know the customer, in claims you have to have details. No, whom do you pay?
Exactly.
No, otherwise just one premium and you pay to the whole country. It doesn't work like that. No.
Yeah, so one part. What happened to file and use? They were talking of products which you can file, don't wait for IRDA's approval and start using them.
That is on the commercial lines, it's not on the retail lines. Again, it's done from a protection perspective of consumers. So what they said was for retail customers, they still want to know, see the product. It cannot be something which goes. Now this is where again the issue that we are saying is for simple products, they can make a standardization. And I think IRDA started that. You look at the first health product has come which is standardized. No? So standardized product should be there in which you can keep on churning it out. For a bit more complex product, you should have that. So that discussion is still on to the point that you said.
So one question for Ashish. So one disclaimer, I am advisor for Max Bupa tied to you, so Sumit agent,
Thank
right?
you.
Okay. So you mentioned about premium rates coming down. Look at our rates. This year our rates are up 30%. When will premium rates actually start coming down?
So, listen, let me try and give you a good perspective. I also told you that the health inflation is about 10 to 12%, correct? I think as the ecosystem evolves, correct, the ecosystem we spoke about in the previous question, operating in an unregulated environment, the end consumption of our product or the utilization in an advent of a disease happen in not so regulated environment. As some of those evolves over a period of time and with digitization, I think I fundamentally believe that over a period of time, the efficiencies will start coming into the insurance business and that will get eventually passed back to the customers. So on the simpler stuff, 1st April onward, I think you will see standardized health product coming from most of the insurance company around that time of April. That's the time regulator has given. So I see a lot of these changes start coming sooner than what you think, what you and I think, and what you and I have been used to over a period of time.
So, can I go? This is a statement to refer to Tapan, that you mentioned that insurance companies are bleeding. So I, as a dignified customer of insurance company, don't take it in a good taste. Why? If I'm paying premium, I'm bona fide, and if you say that you are still bleeding and paying excess claim and all that, that appears to me that paying excess claim, which is, I think, your mistake. You can't evaluate your proposals, and I'm sure all of us here are insured and paying insurance premium. It's not giving good taste to us. आप लोग अगर गलती करते हो और बोलते हो कि हम लोग को लॉस हो रहा है, that's not acceptable statement. You are an institution, you are a big company, and you are still making profits. By the way, there is no insurance company that I have known of that having a net loss or all that situation. Correct me if I'm wrong. So
okay, so let me answer your question.
PSU, no, they are not PSU. They are private insurance companies.
Yeah. No, we'll answer the private also.
The private only you answer.
Yeah, okay. So if you look at it, the fact is the industry has this combined ratio. And the fact that there are some companies like us whose combined ratio is at 100 or below 100. When you say industry combined ratio, it's an overall spread. So if you look at even at private spaces, there are quite a few companies which are on sale because of the losses that has accumulated over time. You look at PSUs, you hear in the newspaper, 3 of them are getting merged. The impact of it is happening. And that is why if you look at, let's say, if you look at our company by Allianz, we have been growing business considerably. And that's the point when he also asked, when you take the right price and you serve the customer well, then a lot of customers respect that. And that's why you have good companies and you have companies which are underpriced and got it wrong, they are suffering. So as a consumer, it is critical for you to decide which company would you insure with. This is a very relevant question, no? So when you look at it, all companies are not losing money. All companies don't have a combined ratio of 117%. It's an average. Some company have 130%. Some company have close to 100 or below 100. Now when you have grievance ratio, it's on IRDA site. No, if you look at, it is mentioned the grievance ratio, you'll find that Bajaj has the least grievance ratio in the industry. You'll also find that it has one of the highest claim settlement ratio in the industry. So when companies operate well, to the point you said, they serve the customer well, but the customer, the choice is yours, where you want to place your business with. So it's critical to look at companies which are running well to place your business with, because that is where you get served well. No, that's the, exactly. So what is happening in the industry? Exactly. So the point I'm saying is you have to choose. Yeah, which companies are doing good? No, no. So, no, it's fair. That's why don't accept companies which are making losses. Insure with companies which are making profit. And it is available, public disclosure.
It's all public disclosure.
No, it's public disclosure, sir. It's all. No, I'm not getting your question. See, the point is as a customer, you have the right to choose which insurance companies. Insurance company performance available on public disclosure. Companies which are running good, they're moving ahead. You insure with them. No, that is that.
Okay,
and now,
Tapan, let me
Okay.
step in. The time's been up for a couple of minutes now, but the gentleman was quite passionate about it, so I let it go. But I think the time is up. We will have to pass. We are happy to take it offline. We are around. We are happy to take it offline. But thank you very much for being an appreciative audience. Thank you for being a very involved audience. I've not heard questions of this variety.
Thank you. Thank you very
so
much.
much.
Thank you. You've been a great moderator, Sumit. Thank you.
Thank you to our panelists. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Wish we could spend some more time, but yeah, I think we should take this conversation offline now. Yes. I've had the pleasure to moderate a discussion with him actually recently.